Okay, y'all, I had to come with this one with y'all today because of all that's taking place across the land. You know, we in the middle of a war right now with Iran and with Israel and Iran. And one thing I'm glad that we did not do and Donald Trump did not do is want to control their oil. Thank you, Jesus. Glory be to God. This is how much of a good president that we have, and we should appreciate him. And like I said earlier, before in a lot of other videos that I had spoke on about our president of the United States of America, who I'm continuously keeping in prayer, and also keeping in prayer for Robert Sylvester Kelly, that R. Kelly will be pardoned, that R. Kelly life will be protected. R. Kelly, whatever's going on with him, I haven't heard any updates since they rushed him to the hospital for overdose, that he took an overdose of medication, and they gave him an overdose of medication, so he's been rushed to the emergency. I'm crying, I'm praying, I'm fasting, I'm praying for my brother, Robert Sylvester Kelly, to pull through all of this. But I'm hoping whatever report we get, it be a good report. Let his attorneys talk on his behalf. Let his attorneys bring us any updates. Just don't want to get involved with some of these bloggers, and I don't really want to talk much on it because I really don't know all that's going on. I just want his attorneys to talk for him. They are professionals. They're trained professionals. They brought to our what's going on right now with R. Kelly, what's taking place, how people are trying to harm him while he's incarcerated. That's all I know. I'm not there. Let his attorneys, and I've been saying this from the time Jennifer Bonjean was representing him for his appeal. Jennifer Von Zine, they working on it. It's just so much going on right now, y'all. Let's just pray for R. Kelly right now. Let's just keep him in our prayers and not get caught up with all the other stuff on these other people's platforms because they don't know what they're talking about. They're not professional. They talk too much, and that's why I've been pulling a lot away from the conversation was taking place around R. Kelly. Um, Prayerfully, his attorneys and them can get something done to help him and to keep him safe or whatever, okay? Because he really doesn't deserve to be there like that. He really doesn't. I mean, he may have committed some crimes or whatever, but it wasn't as severe and as crazy as what we know was going on with this Diddy stuff. He's probably frightened and scared for his life because of what's taking place with this Diddy stuff, with this trial. That whole industry is, to me, was evil. When people make mistakes because they never know what they getting themselves involved with, and they used R. Kelly's musical talents and gifts in that industry. And when they felt like they couldn't control him anymore, they wanted to just destroy his life. That's what I know. They wanted to destroy this man's life. I'm just praying for R. Kelly. I love him. I love his music. I'm going to always love his music. His music will always be with me on this. As long as I live, his music will always be with me. But anyway, back to what I was saying. Oops, sorry. Back to what I was saying about our president of the United States of America. My title says Donald Trump did not make the law of immigrants. This law was put in place before he became president of the United States of America. And I don't believe he's abusing his power in no kind of way. He's following the law. And he's also got to follow what God has put him in authority to do. And that's why I couldn't get along with these bootleg, pandering, wicked politicians, black politicians that always come out here trying to get votes for the Democrats, trying to keep you on the Democrat plantation that you got to continue to live under their slave orders. They wicked. Even if Kamala was elected president of the United States of America, I have to love my country. I have to stay good and to my flag, pledge to the flag of the allegiance of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands. You know, Donald Trump is no way trying to destroy the democracy. The people voted for Donald Trump during this last election in 2024. The people have spoken. They lost the election, so they doing everything they can to destroy this land. This is how demonic and evil these folks are. Got people out there in that street of Los Angeles, California, living in terror. Got the people living in terror. If none, they know their careers are done, and that's how the devil works. When the devil know his time is over, he gonna do as much as he can to destroy so many other people's lives and take them right along with him. That's just how the devil works. Donald Trump is not God, but he has to follow the commandments of God. He has to follow the law just like anybody else. Stop trying to set this man up. Stop trying to keep putting out all these false lies, false rumors about Donald Trump, the president of the United States. I am here as a citizen of this country. I am supposed to stand for the American people, for the flag, and for what I stand for as an American citizen. I stand on the side of righteousness. It says here, coming from the book of Romans 13, if you got a Bible with you, or you can follow it with me here on the New English Version, on the international, the New International Version. I'm sorry. You can follow it here. And it says here, let everyone be subject to the governing authorities. For there is no authority except that which God has established. The authorities that exist have been established by God. Consequently, whoever rebels against the authority is rebelling against what God has instituted. And those who do so will bring judgment on themselves. For rulers hold no terror for those who do right, but for those who do wrong. Do you want to be free from fear of the one in authority? Then do what is right, and you will be commended. For the one in authority is God's servant for your good. But if you do wrong, be afraid, for rulers do not bear the sword for no reason. They are God's servants, agents of wrath to bring punishment on the wrongdoer. Therefore, it is necessary to submit to the authorities, not only because of the possible punishment, but also as a matter of conscience. This is also why you pay taxes, for the authorities are God's servants who give their full time to governing. Give to everyone what you owe them. If you owe taxes, pay taxes. If revenue, then revenue. If respect, then respect. If honor, then honor. It says, let no debt remain outstanding except the continuing debt to love one another, for whoever loves others has fulfilled the law. The commandment, you should not commit adultery, you should not murder, you should not steal, you should not covet, and whatever other command there may be are summed up in this one command. Love your neighbor as yourself. Love does no harm to a neighbor. Therefore, love is the fulfillment of the law. And do the understanding in the present time. The hour has already come for you to wake up from your slumber, because your salvation is nearer now than when we first believed. Night is nearly over, the day is almost here, so let us put aside on the armor of light. Let us behave decently as in the daytime, not in carousing and drunkenness, not in sexual immorality and debauchery, not in dissensions and jealousy. Rather, clothe yourself with the Lord Jesus Christ, and do not think about how to gratify the desires of the flesh. Those are the words of the Lord that has been spoken, coming from the book of Romans 13. I had to read it from that version so people can get an understanding. Go back and read it for yourself. When you are being disobedient to the Lord, you are being disobedient to God. Donald Trump has to serve under God because God placed him in authority. Whether you feel he cheated his way in, whether you feel that, oh, he bought his way in, or whatever you might think, Donald Trump ran the campaign, and when he ran the campaign as in the race for presidency, it was the people who voted him in. He won the election. He won the election. the democracy. The people had the right to vote. You can't cheat your way in. Bringing foreigners from countries to come and use fake ID, giving them fake IDs and breaking the law to win in an election because it came against you. Now you lost. Now you showing who you really are by bringing all those people out in the street, knowing that the immigration law is not only in America, but is across the land. You can't live in somebody's country without being a legal citizen, without being a citizen. That is the law, because you got to know the census of people that's living in there so you can have a certain kind of deficit where you can feed your hungry citizens in your country. To take care of the citizens in your country, the poor. This is driving down wages, is hurting the American people instead of helping the American people. And when if you're an American and you believe in the Constitution of this country, this is what you're supposed to do. Why you can't get jobs to pay you enough money and the prices of food and everything is going up? Because there are some people living here that shouldn't be here, so we can't get the checks and balances. We can't get enough who's here, who belong here, who this. This is what it is, y'all. This is what it is. It's not Donald Trump. It's the law. It's the law. It's the law. And it was here before he was even born. It has always been the law. And that's the law across the land. Even in the old ancient God. Since Jesus been on this earth. They don't like the Republicans because they very conservative and they go by the law. And they ain't giving you no freebies. That's why they don't want you to be a Republican. They want you to be a slave to them and depend on them so they can control you and treat you and lie to you and steal from you. That's what they do. Now they was trying to wipe out the slaves because now we got intelligent enough to know what they out to do. That's why they wanted to hurt the lives of black citizens so that they can give out jobs to these illegals and bring terrorism into the United States of America. I just saw how those young men, all those who committed that crime, they are going to be held accountable. Those who were throwing bricks, I never felt so bad for police officers, even the ones who haven't been so kind to my people. I have never felt so bad to see them out there around all that terror, trying to protect the lives of the innocent people in that city of Los Angeles. I never felt so bad. I said those police officers deserve my praise. They deserve, a thank you from what I'm saying here. And they are being brought to justice for throwing bricks at cars that are moving on the highway, blocking highway, or burning up cars and all that terror. You know how many people probably living today that lived through that experience that are traumatized? The trauma that it caused innocent citizens in that city? How dangerous that was? And the police officers were outnumbered with that. That wasn't a protest. That was terrorism. They didn't even probably give us a count. And they probably don't want to, tell this to every American. But I'm sure a lot of people's lives were taken that day. But we'll probably get that sometime later. Those were some real serious criminals out there. Some real sick and crazy people. I'm watching it from my television and I can see that it was a madness out there that they were showing us. And you want to go out there in that madness, talking about no King's Day marching to try to overthrow Donald Trump and impeach Donald Trump. That's not democracy. That's somebody who's hungry for power and using the people, the poor people, walking blind sheep. And your governor of LA, his case is he's going to be held accountable. Your mayor, she's going to be held accountable. In all these sanctuary cities that allow this terroristic stuff to go on, their governor and their mayor is going to be held accountable. But the ones who's going to get the most severe is going to be the city of LA. Because even though it was some going on in some other cities and crowds and craziness with the police officers or whatever, but theirs was the worst of the worst. Because at least some of the mayors, police, chief of police or whatever, they were a lot more trying to work with ICE. But whoever did not try to work along with ICE, going to be held accountable, and they are not. They will be stripped of their title and have to probably be doing some time, some hard time for what they did, because you put lives in danger, the police officers in danger. They didn't sign up for that. And you abused your power from whatever position you held over their head. You abused it. They didn't sign up for no protest that wasn't peaceful. A peaceful protest, yes. But a protest that wasn't peaceful, they didn't sign up for that. And y'all knew better. Y'all knew doggone better. Y'all got this hate in y'all heart for Donald Trump. Let me tell you something. As somebody that Rosie O'Donnell, she fled out of the United States of America when Donald Trump became president. And she warned you. She says, look, as long as he's going to sit there and be president, I'm out of the country. She went and got herself a temporary visa, exiled, whatever, so that she would not have to deal with living in America under his leadership. And she did the right thing to keep herself away from trouble. Until all of this is over with, then she can always come back to the country of her citizenship. Okay? And that's what a whole lot of them could have done. You didn't have to stay here to be a criminal and go up against our government. You didn't have to stay here. You could have got a visa for a pass for how much time you want to stay in that country. So you could put it for 4 years, 5 years, and then you could follow up with it and get it some more time. And that's what these illegals did. They came here on an asylum, and at this time when it expired, when Biden or whoever the one that brought them over borders, that gave them that asylum for their temporary visa to be in the United States of America, it expired because they no longer the person in charge anymore. Kamala isn't in charge anymore. The Biden and Kamala administration is over. So now Donald Trump has the right to send you all back. Your visa is expired. You had your due process. Okay? When you did not go and check up on your status before you had to leave the United States, your visa is expired. He don't have to keep you here among his citizens of the United States and feed you, house you, and clothe you, and medicate you, or whatever. That is expired. And that's why people got to understand things coming from the Word of God, how God governs the people and how God chooses people to be in place of our leadership, how he chooses his government, his authorities over the people. It says it right here. You can read it for yourself. Donald Trump is not God. He has been elected by the people, by the people's vote, for what the people wanted. This is democracy. You have a right to vote. And when you feel that this is not who you want as your leader. And if you feel you have a problem living under his rulership or under his authority, free will. You can move to another country. You could go to Canada. You could have went to Canada. You could have stayed there temporarily. You could have moved over to what other place? You could have went to the UK. You could have stayed out there for a while, or whatever country you choose to go stay at. Whatever fits your best interest. You didn't have to stay here and be a part of a terrorist group, or to be a part of treason, or to try to do something that is against the law and try to overthrow the government. We don't live with kings. You said no kings. No, we don't have kings here. We have presidents of the United States of America in the republic for which it stands, one nation under God. And our democracy is that people get to choose their leaders. You get to choose your leaders. You get to vote in the elections. That's your democracy. I'm sorry, I can't see your comment here. I can't see your comment here. These liberals and everything else like that, they have a totally delusional, crazy way of thinking. Don't let these people lead your soul to hell or make you so crazy and unhinged. Because those young men or all those people that was at that protest have been identified for those who was committing some real serious crimes. They have been identified. It was a press conference about them today and how much time they will be doing all the charges that have been brought up against them. Some of them will never see another day. And if they wasn't a citizen here in the United States, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, and their country don't want them back. Guess where they will be going? To El Salvador, to Cicoti prison, waiting out their time. They're not going to enjoy the pleasures of living off of taxpayers' money in the prisons that we have for American citizens that commit crime. They will. They will be living in El Salvador's prison, living out their time at Coti for the crimes they committed, endangering the lives of innocent other people. This ain't only just against the police officers, and especially the crimes they committed against police or law enforcement. They will be doing their time, and you think I'm playing, and if you think I'm lying, you're going to hear about it later. You may not hear about it right away, but you're going to hear about it. Let's go to it, and let me show you what I'm talking about. Okay? I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. So I'm not playing with you. They're not going to tell you right away. They are not going to tell you right away where these people will be going. These are some serious charges they're going to get. I know I saw the video. Just bear with me.
In the downtown area.
Let's go to it.
To a conference room for my scheduled briefing. While waiting for my scheduled briefing with General Guillot, I learned that Homeland Security Secretary Noam was holding a press conference literally just down the hall. And that press conference was causing my briefing to be delayed. The thought occurred to me that, well, maybe I could attend this press conference and listen in. Just listen, in the hopes of hearing Secretary.
No, everybody just can't get up and move. And that's why if you can't do that, that's why you should learn how to live with the laws and be an abiding by the law citizen here in the United States of America. And that's why we have a court. If you want to fight against somebody done you something wrong, then that's when you got to take it and file some kind of motion with the court. Okay? You a petition with the court, you can sue them in court and everything else like that. There is no excuse to be ignorant of the law. That's all I'm saying here. No, you cannot, but it takes time. You might have to pay some money to file for your visa, wait for your visa, wait for you get your passport, wait for your visa. As time, when this election was coming, you knew it was going to be either Donald Trump or Biden. who was running for this election, you had enough time to prepare yourself. If you did not like the fact that Donald Trump was going to become president, if he become president, just in case, you should have been making your arrangements. That's all I'm saying. Is to give you no excuse to be ignorant of the law and to be a criminal and commit crimes and join in any kind of terrorist group to try to overthrow our government.
Don't provide some new information that can help us make sense of what was happening. I didn't just get up and go. I asked and was escorted by the National Guardsman and the FBI agent into the press conference. They opened the door for me. They accompanied me into the press briefing room. And they stood next to me as I stood there for a while, listening. And at one point, the United States Secretary of Homeland Security said that the purpose of federal law enforcement and the purpose of the United States military was to, quote, liberate Los Angeles from our governor and our mayor.
This man is an
To
idiot.
somehow liberate us
He just getting
from
himself
the
in
very
more and more
people
trouble.
that we democratically elected to lead our city and our state. Colleagues, let that fundamentally un-American mission statement sink in. That is not a mission focused on public safety. And that simply is not and cannot be the mission of federal law enforcement and the United States military. To my colleagues on both sides of the aisle, are we truly prepared to live in a country where the president can deploy the armed forces to decide which duly elected governors and mayors should be allowed to lead their constituents?
This man is an idiot. All he's doing is making himself look more and more disliked by whatever position he served. Nothing he's saying is really truly going to get through to Congress. Trust and believe. He could go up and say he has a right to express himself and give his point of view and his opinions. You know, he has every right to go up to Congress and express what happened to him with HSI. FBI already was there in the building. Homeland Security was in the building. ICE was in the building and everything else. And even the people that was watching from the television was in the building. And we all did not see this man act in any kind of leadership way. And he acted like a real ghetto fool. Okay? The people already saw his behavior. So he could go ahead and play that game on somebody who's not intelligent enough, somebody who's not a critical thinker, somebody who has not seen with their own eyes and heard with their own ears and know what they know. So he could go up there. He has a right, you know, as an American citizen and then a senator, because he got a title as a senator, and he feel he has a right like to talk against the president of the United States, somebody that sits at the most highest position in the United States of America over our military forces. Okay? So he could go right ahead to know when we had some domestic issues going on over here. And he had to call in the troops to help the police officers out because they wasn't getting the support because the police been defunded when Biden was in administration and when that thing that had taken place in the city of Los Angeles, not Los Angeles, I'm sorry, in Ferguson, when they burnt down the police building and did all of that crazy stuff during the George Floyd riots that took place. He wasn't going to allow it to happen again. This time he stepped in when he was waiting for them to call and step in and send in the troops. Okay? So if you know the history of that, do your research. Exactly. How dare he think he has a constitutional right to speak against tyranny? Thank you. I'm glad somebody in my chat here got sense. This man is crazy, but he has a right. Let him express himself. I
Is
watched it.
that really the precedent that we're okay with setting? As Secretary Noem herself said last year when she was governor of North Dakota, at the time she said, quote, if Joe Biden federalizes the National Guard, that would be a direct attack on states' rights. That was Governor Noem, now Secretary Noem. Now, throughout this country's history, we've had conflict, we've had tumult, but we've never had a tyrant as a commander-in-chief. And that is not by coincidence. It's because the American people have always been willing to speak up.
Donald Trump just don't play with them, okay? Donald Trump just ain't gonna let them have their way, and they mad and crying and weeping like little spoiled little brats, okay? Because Biden will let them run the whole doggone administration for him. Because he didn't know what was going on, because his mind wasn't even in the right condition to know what the people were doing, okay? We all saw that at the end. So don't come and play no games in front of the American people with your lies, because we saw what's going on. Donald Trump just puts his foot down. Okay? He has compassion. He has a heart. He tries to work sometimes with people. But he ain't going to let you go but so far with those boundaries. That's how Donald Trump is. He rules with an iron fist. And they don't like that. They don't like to follow rules. And then they want to be somebody that's going to be over you as your leader. I don't think so. I'm glad he is not my governor, or he ain't my senator over here in Delaware. I am so glad.
Exercise their First Amendment right to protest, especially when our fundamental rights have been threatened. And as the proud son of immigrants from Mexico, it's that same right that I came to revere when marching through the streets with my family and my friends in 1994 in Los Angeles, protesting against the vile anti-immigrant rhetoric that was growing in California at that time. It was that year that a Republican governor was up for re-election and was down in the polls. And he turned to scapegoating immigrants to try to improve his political standing and his re-election chances. That fight is what inspired me to leave an engineering career behind and dedicate myself to trying to influence our government and our politics. So I've seen this before. California has seen this before. So last week, when I heard something so blatantly un-American from the Secretary of Homeland Security, a cabinet official, of course I was compelled.
Ain't nothing un-American about Noam. Okay? Nothing on you, the one who's un-American. She is following her instructions given from her boss. Okay? Okay? Ain't nothing un-American about her. Well, let him carry on.
Both as a senator and as an American, to speak up. But before I could even get out my question, I was physically and aggressively forced out of the room. Even as I repeatedly announced I was,
because you was stepping out of boundaries. You was out of control. And I was like, who is that saying? And she was talking as she was giving everybody, a summary of what she spoke about in the meeting that they was held in there, in that federal building, in the home security homeland building or whatever. She was rounding things up, and people asked their questions they had to ask, and she was answering their questions. You came out of nowhere. You did not even identify who you were. And there was plenty of people to witness who you were. It could have said, this is Senator, that could have stopped them and said, look, this is Senator that knew you. If anybody knew you, they would have stopped and said, look, this is Senator. Somebody would have said, no, this is Senator Padilla. This is Senator Padilla. But nobody did that. Hello? So where's your witnesses? Because everybody else that was there is going to be on the side with the law.
a United States Senator. And I had a question for the Secretary. And even as the National Guardsman and the FBI agent who served as my escorts and brought me into that press briefing room stood by silently.
He's lying in front of the
Knowing
whole
full
American.
well
He's
who
lying
I
in front of
was.
all the viewers.
You've seen the video.
We
I
saw
was
you getting
pushed
wrestled down. Yes,
and
we saw
pulled,
that.
struggled to maintain my balance.
Then you was yelling, "I'm the senator. I'm the senator." They don't know who you was. They had to get somebody to verify that. You could have been
I was
anybody saying you was the
forced
senator.
to the ground.
Look look at that lady that just got shot, the lawmaker, Melissa Hartman, and her husband. Okay, the man identified himself as a police officer. So what makes you think you could just say you the senator and they supposed to take you for that? We saw him on the ground being arrested. Yes, we did, being detained, put it that way. But I don't even know who you were. I didn't know who you were. Okay? You ain't that popular out here on these government streets in Congress. You're not even that popular in Congress. You just a name with a title, and that's it. We don't hear you talking or doing anything in Congress. As much as I watch everything that go on in Congress, when people have things they want to bring to the attention of about the people, that what's going on in the state that they serve under, I don't never hear your name come up in anything. They don't even know who you are. They don't know who's who representing in what city, what state in Congress. Okay, so what is he talking about? Look at that lady. She was killed. The man identified as a police officer. Come to find out he was a lunatic.
First on my knees, and then flat on my chest.
It was so funny to watch.
And as I was handcuffed
I feel so safe.
and marched down a hallway, repeatedly asking, why am I being detained? Not once did they tell me why. I pray you never have a moment like this. But I will tell you, in that moment, a lot of questions came to my mind.
I know,
First of all,
right?
where are they taking me? Because I know I'm not just being escorted out of the building.
Defending criminals. You're going to be right there with them.
Am I being arrested here? And what will a city already on edge from being
Yes, he is.
militarized think when they see their United States senator being handcuffed just for trying to ask a question?
Yes, he is such a loser.
And what will my wife think?
A loser.
What will our boys think?
A poor father example.
And I also remember asking myself, if this aggressive escalation
That's what he's
is
trying
the
to do,
result
Amanda.
of someone speaking up against the abuses and overreach of the Trump administration,
He
was
is an
it really
embarrassment.
worth it? But colleagues, how many Americans in our nation's history have marched, have protested, have shed blood, even lost their lives to protect our rights? How
I
many
marched for R.
Americans have
Kelly.
served in wars overseas
For his
to protect
constitutional
our
rights.
freedoms here at home? And how many Americans in the year 2025
For being trash and
see
littering
a
the room. That's a
vindictive
good one.
president on a tour of retribution, unrestrained?
They didn't even pay attention to the election because remember Donald Trump went around trolling them with the garbage truck that he come to clean up the trash. Oh Lord, oh Lord, oh Lord. And it's starting to play out.
By the majority of this separate and co-equal branch of government, and wonder if it's worth it to stand up or to speak out. If a United States senator becomes too afraid to speak up,
Nobody speaks against the
how can we
president. Nope,
expect
you don't
any
do that.
other American to do the same. Colleagues,
You came against the
you
king.
know me. I can't think of a person who would describe me as a flamethrower.
This
I
man is
try to be respectful.
disobedient.
I try to be considerate to every member of this body, regardless of our political differences. And so I do want to take a moment to thank all of my colleagues on both sides of the aisle who have reached out to share your messages of support, whether they were public messages or many in private. Trust me, they mean the world to me, and I know they mean the world to my family. But if you watched what unfolded last week and thought what happened is just about one politician and one press conference, you're missing the point. If that is what the administration is willing to do to a United States senator for having the authority to simply ask a question, imagine what they'll do to any American who
Believe it or not, Christ is already here. Is in what you feel in your heart and your spirit. He's already here. Those people that was out there acting like that, they don't belong to him. He came to separate the wheat from the chaff. Those who want to follow Christ is going to stay on the righteous side. Those who want to follow Satan, and then you could go right to hell with Satan. Those who want to break loose and be unlawful and try to overthrow the government, commit tyranny and treason, you with Satan. So you go right on with Satan.
to speak up. If what you saw happen can happen when the cameras are on, imagine not only what can happen, but what is happening in so many places where there are no cameras. Colleagues, this isn't about me. In fact, it's not just about immigrant communities or even just the state of California. It's about every single American
Yes,
who
Jesus is
values
Lord.
their constitutional rights. It's about anyone who's ever exercised their First Amendment rights, or anyone who's ever disagreed with a president, or anyone who simply values our democracy.
Let me
And
tell you
why-
something. I don't have to agree with everything with Donald Trump said, maybe because I don't know. I have not reached that level in my life to understand things, his wisdom or whatever, how he's coming. Because Donald Trump's a lot older than me as well. And one thing I was taught in my by my elders was coming up is that I respect my elders, whether they saying the right thing or the wrong thing. One thing I learned to do is not to be disobedient. Okay? Not to be so disrespectful. And Donald Trump is older than a whole lot of you. And you need to learn some respect. And they haven't never got their booties whipped. They never got spankings. Maybe he may not have gotten spankings either, you know, or whatever. But one thing I know that as I watch Donald Trump throughout this election, he's been a lot calmer, a lot nicer, and generous to people and kinder to people and listening to people. Look, he don't even want to hurt those farmers' businesses. He says, yeah, let's just concentrate now. Let's not do any raids there. We'll deal with that stuff later. But let's get these rowdy, crazy criminals out of our country. Let's focus more on getting them out. Those who got a job working, we got our eye. We ain't gonna take our eye off of them, but we gonna deal with these people at first hand. These are the most important people we got to get to first. But they businesses will be looked at. They not getting by. He just don't want too much attention, too much of your attention going there when there's so much going on out here that he's know that we're gonna keep our eye on those ones to get them out first. Not saying they ain't gonna have to go, because those bosses gonna eventually they're gonna have to start paying and posting their jobs out there so people that are American that are out of work can get some of those jobs. That's what is gonna happen. So, but right now, the most important focus is the focus on these people who's living in the United States, committing crimes and running some kind of drug trafficking.
To keep it. Now, the president will tell you that this is just about undocumented immigrants, about law and order, and about targeting dangerous, violent criminals.
Let me explain who I'm speaking to, who I'm addressing to. Yes, they are removing people that do have jobs. You are right. But guess what? They still not, that doesn't make them legal. You could come in the United States of America and still get a job under an asylum. If you was here under the asylum, you do have a right to have a job, legally to work. Yes. Pay taxes and everything. But when your visa time is up, when that time expires, you have to go back. Or you have to follow up with your status and be doing whatever your due process or whatever, like going through the immigration to get legal status as far as becoming a permanent citizen, naturalization. But that's all being held up now in our immigration because of the illegals that are here. Some people were waiting for many years in their own country for due process. You don't understand what I'm saying? Like they already put in for the documentation to go through to become citizens of the United States of America. And their paperwork is still being processed. They still going through the process, but they still come here temporarily, but they still follow up on their status. You understand what I'm saying? But those people that came under asylum, they had jobs. Of course, they had to have jobs. But that time expired, they have to go back to their country, and that's why before it got to this point, even ICE agent himself, the ICE man, Tom Homan said, we'd be willing to even help you with your flight ticket to get there to what country you want to go to. If you want to be deported, we will help you. But don't let us have to come look for you. You should come look for us and ask us, and we will do what we can to help you. They offer that to the table. So you're right. There's people being deported that do have jobs. Doesn't matter. You could have a job. You could have been here for 30 years. But if that visa of yours is expired in whatever year, they just picked the man up. His excuse me, I don't know. He was from India. He had a job. He had a business living right here in the United States. And what happened is that ICE came and he was arrested and brought in detention. And he was crying and everything. And he was in a school visa. He was here under school on a excuse me, y'all. My battery is low and I'm trying to put my charger in. Yeah, so I could talk to you. But he was here on a school visa. And this was back in, he came in the year of 1999 on a student visa. So he'd been here for a long time. So it gave him a long time to build his wealth in America. He built a business, bought a house, everything, got a family here. And they said, you going back. You are out of here. Okay? You are on your way out. He was crying. I never seen a man cry so hard. There was another man from Poland, been living in the United States for over 20 something years. He had a visa here in the United States for 10 years. His visa held him for 10 years. He had status for 10 years. He had to follow up within that 10 period of years of time to be reinstated of with his status. They don't just let you in the United States of America if you're not a citizen here. See, this is how you got to learn how the law can be tricky. You can't just get in here for 10 years and never go and update your residency or your legal citizenship. His expired. He was 10 years in the United States. His visa, it was how many years? The visa was up until 2000. He was here his visa was 10 years expired. See, people don't understand that there is some people that are even dead in the United States, and people living here getting Social Security, living off of a family member or somebody that could have died, using their identity to collect Social Security. They could bring some elder over here from, yes, people have been doing it. People have been doing that. They be getting, that's what DOG, the Department of Government Efficiency, was all about. They went through all of this and stuff. Who's here legally, who's not, how people are trying to play the system, how they coming over here with somebody else's passport, somebody else's identity, and everything. And they know that these people are dead. They go through even the Department of the Deaf, in the Department of of vital statistics with a death certificate. They take your fingerprints, everything. They say, okay, you so and so. You know how they find them. They call them in. They go somewhere. They have their fingerprint. They get fingerprinted and everything, and that's how they find out who you are. That you are not legally that person. When the fingerprints come back. They know if you had a criminal record in your own country. They know how to find out. Some people don't, you know what's making it hard for some people to go back? Let me tell you. Because they've been here. They committed a crime in their own country. And they never committed a crime here in the United States. That's what happened with that Kelmir, whatever, El Salvadorian. He committed a crime in El Salvador. He didn't commit. He was part of some kind of gang here in the United States, but he hasn't really committed a crime here in the United States. His crimes were committed back in his own country, and that's when his what's his name, the president of that country, came here. Remember that whole thing with that case with him. And they picked him up and they sent him to El Salvador, and then they had to bring him back because he had to do his sentence over here. He committed a crime, and then it was crazy, y'all. Just figure out what's going on with this, because a lot of people, they didn't commit crimes in the United States, but they have committed crimes in their own country from their place of origin. Now let's finish hearing what this idiot got to say, and I'll be back.
If it was just about targeting dangerous, violent criminals, there would be no disagreement, there would be no debate. But we know differently. We don't think, we know differently. Public data released by the administration shows that the majority of immigrants currently in ICE custody have no prior criminal conviction. And new reporting shows that less than 10% of immigrants taken into ICE custody since October have no serious criminal convictions. Less than 10%.
Even if they don't have no criminal conviction here in the United States, dummy, they still are illegally here. If you cross the borders and the United States said it's time to go back, it's time to go back and get yourself done over there and do your due process, you are wasting your time. Read the United States Constitution. These people these are DEIs. This is what Donald Trump was talking about. This is a DEI, okay? Due process shows if they broke the... Wait, let me see. I got to hear what you said. I'm ignorant.
But a couple of weeks ago,
I know what I'm talking about.
It seemed that Donald Trump was at the lowest point of his presidency so far.
The truth hurts.
He was drowning in a week of terrible headlines. The American people were finally waking up to the realities of the budget reconciliation bill that will cut health care, nutrition assistance, and good paying clean energy jobs while reducing the tax burden on billionaires. He was losing his tariff wars as the costs for everyday goods were continuing to rise. His promises to end Russia's invasion of Ukraine were falling flat, and he'd been handed loss after loss in federal court. He even had a very public breakup with Elon Musk. And I mention this only because we know what happens when the headlines turn on Donald Trump. When Donald Trump is having a bad week, he turns to the same tired playbook he always has. When in doubt, scapegoat immigrants and manufacture a crisis to distract the media from what's going on. That's the reason ICE raids ramped up in California. And when Californians took to the streets to peacefully protest, he bypassed the governor and federalized the National Guard. And even with their presence over a couple of days, as things began to settle, he escalated even further by sending in the Marines. He wants the spectacle, not just to distract, but to justify his undemocratic crackdowns and his authoritarian power grabs. That's the reason why, even though the vast majority of protests have remained peaceful, what a weekend. That notwithstanding, the president,
You can exercise your right for a peaceful protest. We're not saying that they shouldn't have a peaceful protest. But what was going on out there in that crowd that we saw in Los Angeles and even in some of the other places that were also holding protests was not peaceful. Vandalism, that's not peaceful. Throwing rocks and off of a highway onto the police vehicles and stuff. That's not peaceful. Lighting fire, throwing firecrackers at the police and other kind of explosions at the police and mass using all kind of stuff that they were doing. That was not peaceful. But we're going to get into it. Let this finish up.
the vice president, and their allies have continued to call all the protesters out there insurrectionists. Yes, this is the same man who provoked an actual insurrection at our Capitol on January 6th. The same man who incited a violent mob carrying Confederate flags against Congress. The same man who then pardoned the convicted felons who assaulted our brave Capitol police officers. Donald Trump is continuing to test the boundaries of his power, and he's surrounded himself with yes men and underqualified attack dogs, from the DHS secretary to the FBI director to the secretary of defense, who will rubber.
How long he's been president now? Donald Trump only been president. How many days it has been now? How many months it has been now? Okay? It ain't even been a year yet. And the government just changed over. And these people, before the government even changed over, they've been attacking Donald Trump this, Donald Trump that, Donald Trump this, Donald Trump da 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 da. Okay, so let's go on.
Every anti-democratic step he takes. This administration's officials, and maybe not all, but many Republicans in Congress, may choose not to
I'm
do
not
their
even a
job,
Republican, and I
cannot
don't share
stop
their
me
views.
from doing my.
The past. You would assume by their focus and their repeating over and over and over again of what's going on that Los Angeles was a war zone, no
Thank
different than
you.
some real war zones across this world. Nothing could be further from the truth. But we're going to announce additional charges today, both myself, Mr. Asali, the CHP and the LAPD, to give you an idea of the types of crimes that have been committed and will absolutely be prosecuted. First, I will announce 5 of them. Mr. Masali will announce several others. The first one I want to focus on is by an individual named William Rubio. William Rubio is 23 years old. He has been charged with 2 felony counts of assault upon a police officer and 2 felony counts of using a destructive device to injure or destroy. Now, let me describe the charges that have been alleged against Mr. Rubio. On the night of June 8th, there was a dumpster that was set on fire at 1st and Spring Street. Undercover officers observed Mr. Rubio allegedly throwing fireworks at the Los Angeles Fire Department and the Los Angeles Police Department personnel who responded to put the fire out. Mr. Rubio left the scene, but was spotted 30 minutes later, allegedly throwing fireworks at Los Angeles Police Department motor officers who were on a skirmish line. He was arrested, and when he was arrested, in his backpack, they found 20 individual fireworks. These included 11 M1000 quarter sticks. For anyone who understands fireworks, you have fireworks that range from the least explosive, an M80, an M100. These were 11 M1000 fire sticks, these quarter sticks. These quarter sticks are basically a quarter stick of dynamite. These are lethal devices, destructive devices. And had any of these been thrown in a person's direction, they very well could have killed or maimed that person. That was what Mr. Rubio was doing the night of June 8th, and Mr. Rubio was arrested. He was charged with these crimes. And if convicted as charged, Mr. Rubio faces up to 8 years and 8 months in prison. The second case involves Terrell Tillis, 30 years old. He's been charged with one felony count of possession of a firearm by a felon and one misdemeanor count of giving or receiving a large capacity magazine. On the night of June 11th, Mr. Tillis was in downtown Los Angeles, and he was detained for being out past a Los Angeles City mandated curfew. He allegedly had this loaded firearm with him that had 15 rounds in the magazine. If convicted as charged, Mr. Tillis is facing up to 6 years and 6 months in prison. Third defendant, Antonia De La Rosa, age 44. He's been charged with one felony count of discharging a laser at an aircraft. On the night of June 12th, Mr. De La Rosa has been alleged to be in the area of a protest in San Pedro. He allegedly pointed a green laser at a Los Angeles Police Department helicopter several times. If convicted as charged, he faces up to 3 years in prison. Fourth defendant, Eddie Lee Baldwin, age 39. He's been charged with one felony count of second-degree commercial burglary.
39 years old and you out there doing foolishness. You deserve more time than that. You should know better. You should know better. Okay, let's go on. These people are too, let me put me up there. These people are way too old to be committing crimes like this, and they know what the consequence is going to be. Way too old. Making stupid choices like that. And they barely got kids. They should be also held responsible. If they got any kids, they should also be expelled for being an unfit parent.
On the night of June 9th, Mr. Baldwin is accused of being among many dozens of people who forced their way into an Apple store in downtown Los Angeles to loot that store. He faces up to 6 years in prison.
And that sounds like a black man. To me, Baldwin, if he was black, it sounds like a black dude, okay? He going to jail and ain't no black person coming out there to fight for his civil rights. Sorry, he's a dunner because he been warned that this is not our fight. Let's go.
And the fifth defendant is Adam Palermo. I will describe that case. Mr. Asali will also describe the federal aspects of that case. Mr. Palermo, and he is featured in the video you have before you as well, was an individual who's 39 years old. He's been charged with 4 felony counts of assault with a deadly weapon on a peace officer, 1 felony count of arson, and 1 felony count of vandalism. On the night of June 8th, Mr. Palermo is accused.
I'm not even fighting for no dumbass black American citizen. If they was out there in that damn protest, they could do what the fuck they want to them. Because the more, like I said, get rid of the trash, even get rid of the trash in our community. That's how I feel.
Of throwing a large rock at a California Highway Patrol vehicle from an overpass on the 101 freeway. He also allegedly lit an object on fire and threw it at a CHP SUV that was parked on the freeway. That vehicle caught fire. In this case, what you will hear is an anonymous tip from Crime Stoppers is what helped law enforcement identify, locate, and arrest Mr. Palermo. If convicted as charged on the state charges, he faces up to 9 years and 8 months in state prison. Mr. Palermo's case basically can be viewed in 3 different ways. Call it timing, techniques, and consequences. On timing, we have promised you that the charges are coming. And for anybody who's committed these crimes who wasn't arrested at that moment in time, we have told those folks that we are coming for you. And Mr. Palermo's case is an example of exactly that. That though he did not get arrested at that exact moment in time, you see behind me and throughout this entire county, law enforcement officers who are going to track down these criminals, arrest them, bring their cases to the U.S. attorney, to the district attorney, to the city attorney. We will then prosecute those cases, convict these individuals, and they will be punished. So on timing, the warning to all those criminals out there who've committed the crimes, We're coming after you. And to the people out there who are thinking about committing these crimes, please don't. Please heed this warning. The second thing is techniques. One of the things we discussed in the last press conference was how law enforcement is going to actually go ahead and find all these individuals. This exact case is an example of that. Crime Stoppers, two individuals contacted Crime Stoppers and provided anonymously information showing linking the social media sites for Mr. Palermo to the activities that were publicized.
Didn't I tell you that? That's why the cops wasn't going so hard at them. Only way if it was threatening to their life and they try to pull out a gun and shoot at the police had every right to, But in a crowd, like in that kind of crowd, the police had to stay focused on the crowd. Everything the police couldn't get, Crime Stoppers was gonna get. Like I said, somebody in that crowd knew somebody, and somebody in that crowd followed somebody, and somebody in that crowd got close enough to get information about that somebody, and that somebody also was able to bring that information to Crime Stoppers, and Crime Stoppers was able to identify who did what at the protest. And they have evidence because there's videos. People were out there doing videos. People were out there filming all kind of stuff that was going on. There is some stuff that is posted that went on in these riots that they going through on social media, that were posted on social media, that they can identify with a lot of the criminals that were there. The people that spit in the police officers' faces, the people that were hitting the police officers, people that hit the horses. Somebody got a video of all of this. Because people was out there with their phones getting all of this information. And guess what? They getting paid by Crime Stoppers. Some people went out there to work for Crime Stoppers.
By the media of an individual who was masked, who was throwing objects from the freeway onto the CHP cars. They followed up with these anonymous tips. They linked in all the social media video, all the video footage from the media, all the cell phone cameras that had been recording this.
Didn't I tell you that? They were recording. They was getting all this. Hey, man, what's your name? Yeah, my name is Daughter. You probably talked to them while you was at the road test and everything. They got all your information, and they went right on the Crime Stoppers.
Hundreds or thousands of cameras have been out there. Law enforcement's going to get this evidence. And when they get this evidence, they're going to find these people behind these masks, behind these coverings, who thought they could go ahead and commit these crimes with impunity. Now they're going to realize something different. And the third point about the Palermo case and these other cases are the consequences. Mr. Palermo has basically said that he thought this was his most productive day. Literally, causing this damage, committing these crimes was his most productive day. What he's going to learn is that when we bring the evidence in court and we convict him beyond a reasonable doubt, and a judge sentences him to jail or prison, that he can think long and hard as he's sitting there in a jail or a prison about what a great productive day he had. It was not a productive day. It was a day of destruction, a day of violating the laws, and it will be eventually a day of accountability. Now let me turn this over to our United States Attorney, Bill Asaley.
Thank you, Mr. District Attorney. Good afternoon or good morning. I'm Bill Asaley. I'm the United States Attorney for the Central District of California. I am very proud to stand here today with our state and federal law enforcement partners. We are united in our efforts to ensure that individuals that choose to cause violence and destruction in our communities are held accountable. And you've seen us do that over the last week. And we're here today to continue doing that and to announce more charges. We have zero tolerance for violence. As the district attorney said, you have an absolute right to peacefully protest. You have no right to destroy property or to engage in acts of violence, especially at our law enforcement officers. Since June 6, 2025, my office, working with federal and state partners, have charged more than 20 individuals with federal crimes for engaging in violent conduct, obstructing enforcement operations, or supporting acts of violence. Let me highlight.
I see 83 people here in the chat. Can you please hit the like button? I'll appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Few of the cases we filed over the last few days. On Friday, we took custody of Mr. Alejandro Orellana for his role in supporting the violent protests in downtown Los Angeles. On June 9th, he drove his truck downtown with an unidentified woman to hand out large quantities of face shields to individuals who appeared to be engaged in violence and vandalism. He was not handing them out to peaceful protesters. His actions were captured on video, posted on social media, and observed by Los Angeles County Sheriff's deputies. These face shields are designed to protect from chemical splashes and flying debris, which helps protect violent agitators from less than lethal weapons deployed by law enforcement. When the FBI executed a search warrant at his home, they found a powerful wrist rocket style slingshot and ammunition for the slingshot, including a bag of rocks and containers of metal BBs, a can of spray paint, plastic goggles, and a notebook with the words 1312 Blue Lives Matter 187. 1312 is an abbreviation for All Cops Are Bastards, while 187 is a common slang term for murder. He has been charged with a violation of 18 United States Code Section 371, conspiracy to commit civil disorder, and 18 United States Code Sections 231A3 and 2, aiding and abetting in civil disorders. Each of those charges carries a 5-year statutory maximum sentence. As I mentioned last week, much of the violence has been directed at law enforcement, police officers who are just trying to do their jobs and protect the community. As you saw in the news, on June 8th, our highway patrol officers were violently and viciously attacked by individuals from an overpass above the 101 freeway, throwing rocks and explosive devices and lighting CHP cars on fire. On Friday, federal...
You know, would they get a juror? If they get a juror for these convictions, the judge see all of this? Boy, oh boy, whether they like Trump or not, this person going down. I'm telling you, anybody that gonna look at that video, from all the citizens that were watching and all the people that were there, they are going to get life sentences. This is what they convicted them for, and this is how much it can go. But how they gonna add up those charges? It's gonna be for life, because they were, some real dangerous, serious criminals out there acting the way they were, and I don't think they probably gonna be getting out no time. If they in prison, they just going to become even more violent criminal. While the more time they have in prison, they're going to be a more violent criminal because they got to fight with all other criminals.
Agents in the CHP arrested Mr. Adam Charles Palermo for his role in the attack on our CHP officers. Palermo was caught on video participating in the attack. His social media account contained a collage of photographs and videos depicting a man holding flying debris, a CHP patrol car on fire, and various other damage to CHP patrol cars. In the caption, he wrote, "All of the protests I've been involved in, which is well over 100 now, I'm most proud of what I did today." Mr. Palermo is charged with a violation of 18 United States Code Section 844I, attempted arson of a vehicle used in interstate or foreign commerce. He faces a mandatory minimum penalty of 5 years and a statutory maximum penalty of 20 years. He will not be doing any protests for the next foreseeable future. Another case filed yesterday involves an individual who spit on a military serviceman and a law enforcement officer.
That's the most.
On Saturday, California National Guard and federal police were outside the federal building on Los Angeles Street trying to protect federal property. Angus Johnson confronted a California National Guardsman, and after heckling him, he spit on him. Johnson then spit on other federal police officers present who were trying to keep the peace. As our president said, if you spit, we hit, and we will hit you with a felony. Mr. Johnson is charged with assaulting a federal agent in violation of 18 United States Code Section 111. He faces a maximum sentence of 8 years in prison. We have dozens of ongoing investigations, and we are continuing our work to identify individuals who engaged in violence. Their masks, their face shields will not save them. We will find them, and we will go to their home, and we will arrest them. That is a promise I make.
City of Los Angeles, these poor people better hang it up. They tore down Los Angeles the way they did. Those people going to be, the more the crime is, the more the salaries have to be increased for the police officers. This is how dirty they are. This is how the law gonna get you. You don't mess with that. They're gonna tear down. You're gonna tear down your city. You're gonna tear it down, ghetto it up, do all of this graffiti. If they gotta fix it up, it's gonna cost the city so much money to get the job done, to hire workers, employees, whatever. And guess what's gonna happen to those people that live there? You think Los Angeles things is high now? Things are going to be even more higher. I'm telling you right now, that's how it works. The price of food is going to be a lot more higher. The taxes in that place is going to be a whole lot more higher. You're going to be paying so much more money for your rent. For your rent, if you was only paying like say $1,200 for maybe a studio, you're going to be paying in a raggedy apartment as it is. You're going to be paying $1,500. Everything's just going to go higher, and then it has to what's that word again? When they have to renovate the area, it's called, oh God, it's a certain word they use to revitalize that area and everything else like that. If you try to get a loan at a bank or whatever, guess what? High interest loans. They're gonna hit you so hard. Woo! They gotta pay these people for the work they gotta put in. The work they had to put in, they bring in the military and everything. Are you serious? It's going to cost those people so much money, money, money. People's lives are going to be living, and they can't go nowhere. They just going to stay there and kill each other. And the property taxes, and people going to run them out. And the police force is going to be even harder out there. They just made life real beautiful for themselves.
To the community. I want to thank our law enforcement men and women. I want to thank our National Guard and the military for their service in keeping us safe. I want to thank the federal agents for their hard work, which they continue to do each and every day. They do not deserve to be treated the way in which they were the last week, and we're not going to put up with it. We have great working relationships with our local law enforcement partners, LAPD, the sheriffs, CHP, the district attorney's office, and we will work together to make sure we get the most aggressive and appropriate sentence for each of these violent actors. Thank you very much.
I'm not telling them where I live. Shit. So I don't want these violent people coming over here where I'm at. Yep, these people better know how things are. I'm telling you, I lived in New York all my entire life. I always wonder why New York, all the stress, all the pressure, all the crime, and everything. Even though I lived in some of the pretty decent areas, I mean, I wouldn't say I lived in a pretty good area in New York, but I'm talking about when I used to be like up in Harlem. They had to do the whole Harlem. You go to Harlem now, you wouldn't even notice it. It don't even look the same. It don't. Some people just gonna have to go live in city, and even city housing is expensive to live in New York. I have a friend who lives in New York and everything, and she's in a 2-bedroom apartment in the projects, paying $1,500 for rent. That's how high the cost of living is going to be over there, and it's already high in L.A. The law saying you wonder why. You ain't got no money, you can't live there. They're going to be moving out of the country. They're going to be moving somewhere where they're going to have to learn how to afford to live and get better with their life. I'm telling you, they're going to have to go to school, get their education. They're going to have to up their game because the order to survive, you ain't going to be able to pay that rent, that cost of living. Welfare is not going to be your rescue. Food stamps, because that program is getting cut. Because this is why I say, if you're not an American, if you ain't fight against this terrorism that took place in your, I'm just sit here and mind my business. I ain't getting involved. I want them. You gonna see what's gonna happen.
Good morning, and thank you all for being here. I am Chris Margaris. I am the Southern Division Chief for the California Highway Patrol. First, I want to extend my sincere appreciation to Los Angeles County District Attorney Nathan Hochman and U.S. Attorney Bill Asaley, as well as all the other agencies standing here with us today. Their continued commitment to public safety and the safety of our officers reflects the strength of our partnership and a unified front in response to the recent events in Los Angeles. Over the past week, the California Highway Patrol has been fully engaged in maintaining public safety amid a series of protests across the state and here in Los Angeles. Let me be clear. While we uphold and protect the constitutional right to free speech and peaceful assembly, we will not and do not tolerate Violence, criminal conduct, or any act that threatens the safety of the public or our
That's
officers.
right, Sharon. The poor will
Today, I'm
always be
announcing the
with you.
arrest of Adam Palermo.
That's why I do this stuff that I do when I come on here and I'm sharing these videos and I'm sharing this information with somebody out there because I want to help you. I want to help you so you don't fall into the hands and the traps of the devil. Because when you follow this kind of behavior in society and you become this kind of way, don't blame the white man. Don't say, oh, the white black people are getting ahead and I'm not, and you a white person and you living in that kind of state of mind. You one of those kind of people. I'm just trying to feed you the truth here. I mean, I'm just trying to tell you something that will help you so you won't become a part of this statistics and that you don't have to stay poor and living in poor housing and living in a place where you have crime all around you, drug infested, crime infested, all of that stuff. When you run down the poor like that, if you really want to live better and live right here on the kingdom, these are the kind of people you don't want to be a part of. So you're going to do the right thing and stay away from all of that. And it won't affect your life in no way. And God will give you the increase. I promise you that.
Of Los Angeles by the California Highway Patrol Major Crime Detectives for his role in a violent attack on CHP personnel. Palermo is accused of throwing rocks at our officers and participating in the arson of a marked CHP patrol vehicle. These are not protest actions. These are serious felonies and direct threats to public safety. We are pursuing full accountability under the law for violent crimes. In addition, the California Highway Patrol has made multiple arrests related to reckless driving incidents that occurred directly in front of our special response team officers and protesters during recent events. These drivers deliberately engaged in dangerous maneuvers that placed everyone nearby, officers, protesters, and bystanders, in immediate danger. That is not protest. It is reckless criminal behavior. Vehicles have been impounded for 30 days, and criminal charges are being recommended for each of the individuals involved. Let me emphasize this is far from over. Our investigation is active and ongoing. CHP detectives continuing to review evidence, examine video footage, identify additional suspects, and pursue charges for those incited and carried out violence against our officers and engaged in criminal acts during these demonstrations. Anyone who assaulted a peace officer, destroyed property, or threatened public safety will be identified and held fully accountable. We are asking for the public
And you
help.
are so right. You are so right. I can't really see Sharon. You are so right. You people got to change their mindset. You only living that way because that's who you choose to be. You can do better than that. You can do so much better with yourself. Don't find your great purpose in life. That is not your great person purpose. That is a pathway to hell following those kind of people and underneath that kind of leadership. I would have moved out of the city. People already moved out of the good people. They getting ready now to move out of Los Angeles. Because they refuse to pay all that kind of money to live in a place like that. In that jungle. In that place. They ain't gonna raise their children in a place like that. They're not gonna give their children that type of education. Your children learn by the environment they're in. I was just talking to my older sister today, and it was talking about that prison called Sikoti. Even though these are some young boys that are in that prison, a lot of them are very young. I think the oldest they might got in there, if they've been in there for a long period of time, the oldest they probably got in there is almost close to 40. But they're very young. And they started out on their gang life probably by the age they was 12 when they recruited them in middle school. They could have probably been in middle school or even coming out of elementary school. And they had no fathers in their home because a lot of these families came from El Salvador. And what happened is they had to escape because not only just the poverty there, the crime that was there, the terrorism that was there. So the United States of America allowed these families asylum and gave them the mothers that had to escape with their children. And they came to the United States, and some of the places that they came to the United States and the cities that they lived in was probably Los Angeles, California, and maybe some in Chicago, or whatever cities that they came here. And when they came here and everything with their mothers and everything, as they were going to school, as they were young, You know how they come and they say, where you from, man? Where you from? Where your family from? Salvador. Yeah, we're family. We family. Then all of a sudden, they formed a little family, crime family. And they became little gangsters trying to control their little territory. And they had to commit certain things to be a part of the gang family. That happened in their country. And it happens in the United States as well. Like people come from places like the North Carolina and everything else like that. Like the story, the American Gangster. His family came from the country of came from the state of North Carolina, from in the country and everything else like that. And then he got connected with some people from his own town, his brothers and everything else like that. And they became gangsters in the streets of New York, up in Manhattan, down in the Bronx. And guess what? They don't even live in those areas. They control those areas, but guess what? They don't live there. They probably live in the most nice suburban areas. The poor, they leave their people out there on the street. They pushing them poison and drugs and killing and crime, and they go live in some nice, beautiful home out on Long Island somewhere. Watch these gangster movies, because those little boys in C. Cote, that prison in El Salvador, that's an El Salvadorian gang. 18th Street and the MS-13. They start them out by 12, 13 years old. By the time they probably, if they don't get them at the earliest part of it, they start off at least 12, 13 or something years old. Because they recruit them even in the schools, because the schools are so poor and so bad there. The child barely in school, or if he is in school, he's in there recruiting and selling drugs in the school to other kids in school, smoking cigarettes, smoking marijuana, doing whatever out on them streets. And guess where he gonna end up at? Now, this is not something that's new that happened. This has been developing over years and years and years of this prison. They've been building it, sending them back, deporting them back to their country. And then their mothers can't lost control because there's no positive influence in their life. Like their fathers are not there because their fathers probably back where they came from was either murdered or killed or died there. It was just so horrible. Their poverty and everything else, he probably left, or the father's probably even in jail too over back in the country. So this is it for them. This is all the life. You become a product of your environment. That's why when your sons and daughters are very young, you work hard before you build a family and get them in a good environment. You build a good life for your children, so that you lead that life for them for an example. And if you are going to bring a male around your sons and your daughters, bring somebody that has a positive influence on their life. Don't get no gangster, no drug dealer, no this, that, the other around your sons and daughters, or some criminal, some guy that been in jail or whatever. Get a nice positive male, and that's probably hard to find. But it's good if you can find a man that you can have those children with, that he can be that positive influence in their life. Not a man slapping and cussing the woman out, cussing you out in front of the children. A man that ain't doing that. A man that's involved in his children's life. Like, and every time he's on an activity, a sport or whatever, the father's there. The father's there to keep his son there to be active in that child's life. If he have a claim, the father shows up at his sporting events. The father is there with his son or with his daughters or whatever. Even if he has to work, he will still take time out for his family and be with his wife and his children, or around his children, doing things with his family. Not hanging out on the street all the time, got his boys hanging out, and all these people running in and out of your house around your kids. That's not a good influence around your children. That's not a good... Well, anyway, let's just, Sergeant, keep talking, and then I'm going to get out of here.
If you witness any criminal activity during these demonstrations or have any information that may assist our investigators, please call our Major Crimes Tip line at 323-259-3200. Tips can be made anonymously, and every lead will be pursued. To the people of California, we are here to protect your right to speak and be heard. But those who choose to exploit public demonstrations and invite violence, attack officers, or create chaos, know this: we are coming for you. Your actions will not go unanswered. Our officers have shown professionalism, courage, restraint under intense and dangerous circumstances. I'm incredibly proud of the men and women in the California Highway Patrol. We remain unwavering in our mission to provide the highest level of safety, service, and security for everyone who lives and works and travels in the state.
I'm an early educator, and I love being an early educator because I could get to see whatever that child is developing at the earliest part of their life. And I get to share that with the parents. I get to share, oh, he done such a great job today. I like the way he was, and then when we have things, I always try to invite the families and everything to come and be a part of it and everything else like that. So this is what I know. You know what I'm saying? And when I have to leave my children at the end of the school year, whatever, I I cry. I cried. I left my job in March. My last job I left in March. It was a whole lot of crazy stuff going on in there that I just didn't like. It wasn't really about educating the children. It was really about really to me they wasn't really getting anything but coming there, and I wasn't coming there to work and be a babysitter. I wanted my children to learn in school. I wanted the parents to see that their children were learning in school. It's just some things I just wasn't going along with, and I just wasn't going to follow. So I had to move on, and find something else. I'm praying, and hopefully this my new job, where I would be starting this job. I told them to give me until the 23rd, which would be next week, that I was supposed to be starting my new job, okay, for the summer, but I'm only going to be working for the summer hours. I'll be, working at this educational learning center for like 2 from 12 to 6 until the fall. Then I probably go full time, but I'm only going to be doing part time for the summer, for the month of the summer, which is good for me because I got things I have to get up and do. But I just like to study these things that's going on in our world that we live in politics and all this stuff, because I would like to be able to able to help other people as in the community and everything, especially in the community of being an educator, and my educators, other educators as well. That we need to find these things out, see these things early before they get out of control in our children. So that's why I'll be watching a lot of this, and I bring this information to you too on my YouTube channel, on my channel. I like to share this information too with you on my channel. So some of you might be parents out there, and also not really sure about your Congress person in your Congress, or sure about who's running your state, your governor, your Congress, the police department. All of this is part of the community. And all of this is a part of life. And whatever we don't like, how we change it, because we have a democracy here. We do get the vote. You get the vote in the elections. You get the vote in the primaries. You get the vote, whenever there's a vote in time, who to look out for, who you're going to vote for. Those people in LA, I doubt anybody going to be voting for Newsom and Bass. Their time is up, whatever they doing. And it's Maxine Waters, she's old and dried up anyway. So she should be, they congresswoman for that city of LA in California. Oh, she's done. She's their congresswoman there. Okay, and for that area, where that ghetto area, she act just like the area there, the people there, like the ghetto, the hood. Boss, she's not on a very intelligent way of seeing things, and she's not. Maybe some parts where she was, people were acting civilized and protesting, but when you saw those videos with all that violence and everything, that's when she should have had spoke with the governor, and the governor and them should have had that conversation and got the help. President Trump, he's right, should never had to go over him to bring in the troops. But see, President Trump told him, and he didn't want to go ahead and do it. So that's when Trump had to step in and do it. And they senator, he's an idiot too. Everybody that was supposed to be on team to watch out to make sure they kept safety in that place during those protests. It was a peaceful protest, but once they saw that, they should have been able to get some more, security out there. And they didn't. Let's go on.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Deputy Chief Alan Hamilton. I'm the Chief of Detectives for the Los Angeles Police Department. I want to open up first with thanking our law enforcement partners, the hard work done by the Los Angeles Police Department officers, Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, California Highway Patrol, and numerous other agencies that came in on a mutual aid basis to assist in keeping this city safe. On behalf of the Los Angeles Police Department, we want to thank them for all their hard work, the sacrifice they've done, over these last few days to make this city, this region, and this state safe. Our hats go off to all of our partners that responded when the call went out to assist, arrived in this city within hours, and assisted us in restoring order to this city. The city of Los Angeles is a peaceful and orderly city, and the Los Angeles Police Department will keep it that way. We want to thank our partners in the U.S. Attorney's Office, the District Attorney's Office, and the City Attorney's Office in assisting us on the other side of our investigations with effective and meaningful prosecution and consequences. And as my partners have discussed, these investigations that we have initiated as results of this criminal activity will continue. As I stand here and speak, our investigators are continuing to identify individuals that were involved in violent activity and looting activity in the downtown area, and we will be making additional arrests, and we will be arresting additional suspects and bringing them to justice as well as we have in these cases that we're discussing today. The Los Angeles Police Department supports the right to peacefully protest, but when individuals choose to engage in violence, arm themselves, or endanger others, including officers and community members, we will act and we will seek prosecution. Pointing a laser at an aircraft is not a prank. It's a felony and a serious public safety threat. When a laser hits the cockpit of an LAPD helicopter, it can temporarily blind or disorient the pilot, even at high altitude or at speed. In low-flying urban environments like Los Angeles, this creates an extremely dangerous situation where momentary loss of vision can lead to a crash that puts lives at risk on the ground and with our air crews. This behavior is not only reckless, it can blind a pilot and cause a catastrophic crash. A crash caused by a laser strike could impact homes, traffic, businesses, or peaceful gatherings below. These incidents also jeopardize the safety of officers on the ground who rely on aerial support for real-time intelligence during emergency, crimes in progress, and crowd management. Unfortunately, we're seeing an increase in the use of laser pointers at protests and during incidents where individuals appear to be intentionally targeting law enforcement. This is not accidental or careless. It is often deliberate interference with law enforcement operations, and it has all the hallmarks of criminal intent. In the case of Mr. De La Rosa, the laser was reportedly aimed at the LAPD airship multiple times, demonstrating a clear disregard for human life and operational safety. I will tell you that I was out there that night when that happened at approximately 11 p.m. And I know a lot of people see Los Angeles police officers and other law enforcement agency with the tinted glasses when we're at these protests. We have had law enforcement officers sustain career-ending and life-damaging injuries to their eyes as a result of laser strikes on the ground. So you can only imagine how dangerous it is for an air crew operating hundreds of feet above a crowd, providing timely intelligence and safety to the officers below. That activity will never be tolerated in the city of Los Angeles, and we will always seek to take effective prosecutorial action after arresting those suspects. We want to thank the district attorney for pursuing felony charges in the cases presented today, along with their partners at the U.S. Attorney's Office. These crimes don't advance any cause or further any message at all. What they do is endanger the lives of our officers, harm our communities, our small businesses who are desperately trying to recover in a very challenging atmosphere, and our civic institutions. There was some discussion about the historical buildings down here that have sustained serious damage, and it's just not going to be tolerated in this city. It is not going to be tolerated. I want to commend our detectives, our partners in law enforcement, who are working tirelessly to investigate these cases and bring justice to our city. We remain committed to ensuring Los Angeles is safe for all, and that includes those that want to come to Los Angeles and legally protest in our streets. We will facilitate that to the nth degree and make sure that they have the right to express themselves and express their First Amendment rights. Thank you.
All right, we'll take questions now, and then we will have Maria Ramirez, our Assistant District Attorney.
Okay, I'm out of here, y'all. I just wanted y'all to hear that and see that so everybody can be on one accord. Everybody can get this information. If you know, you can always like, share, subscribe to this video on the Casey McDaniel channel. Whenever I come up with something, please hit the bell so whenever I come on, you be notified. I will appreciate it. Please hit the like button on your way out. I appreciate that as well. This is serious. This is the community. Everybody in the community needs to know about this. If you want to get it around to the community of other YouTubers, I would appreciate that as well because everybody needs to be educated on what's going on and why it's not good to always be going against your president and the government and especially attacking law enforcement when they're out there for your safety. And if you want to do your protesting, please do it peacefully, not with violence. And that was violence out there. That was terrorism out there. And some people might never recover from it. Some people will be traumatized by this because it was watching it on TV traumatized me. So anyway, I'm going to get out of here, y'all. Y'all have a blessed and wonderful Tuesday. And if God's willing, I may come back again later if anything else comes up. So you all be good.